For the vast majority of Breath of the Wild, we don't see Princess Zelda. She's locked up in Hyrule Castle, fighting to keep Calamity Ganon imprisoned there. She's only seen in the game's memories, cutscenes taking place 100 years earlier, and heard when she speaks to Link telepathically. That is, until the very end of the game, when, together with Link, Zelda destroys Dark Beast Ganon, ending the calamity and freeing her kingdom. Hero and Princess meet for the first time in a century. With Hyrule finally free from torment, Zelda announces that she plans to travel to Zora's domain, to offer condolences to King Drury-Wang for the loss of Mipha, and to fix Divine Beast Vah Ruta, which stopped working. Together, Zelda hopes, the pair can begin to rebuild their kingdom to its former glory, or even beyond. We're not sure exactly how long after this moment Tears of the Kingdom takes place. We can assume that the events that happen underground are the earliest events in the game, because Link's right arm is intact, not yet burned by malice or glowing with green magic. Except for a slightly different champion's tunic, Link appears pretty much the same here, and so does Zelda, with the notable exception of a much shorter haircut. The events that happen underground are a little unclear. Link and Zelda discover Ganondorf's body, which, to their horror, comes back to life. Malice erupts throughout the chamber, causing the ground to crumble and rocks to fall from the ceiling, and Zelda falls. In the 2023 trailer, we see what happens next. Link drops the Master Sword and jumps after her, though the scene cuts before we see if he manages to catch her hand. But in the 2021 trailer, we see a clip of Zelda actually falling, out of sight and into darkness. Her pose in these two shots is exactly the same, with her right hand stretched out. These clips are the same event, moments apart. There is this shot of Link grabbing Zelda's hand, but it doesn't seem to be Link catching her. The background doesn't move, and Zelda's hand reaches up to Link more than Link reaches down to Zelda. It looks less like she's falling and more like Link is helping her climb something. This clip is different. In the beginning of Tears of the Kingdom, Zelda falls, and Link fails to catch her. And this is the last we see of the princess in Tears of the Kingdom. She's nowhere to be seen in any other shot in any other trailer. It's like when she falls, she vanishes from the game. So, does she die here, or is there something we're not seeing yet? Could Zelda have her own quest, her own journey deep in Hyrule's underworld? Together with Monster Maze, let's have a look at the possibilities of Zelda's role in Tears of the Kingdom.
The most obvious and terrifying possibility is that Zelda dies here. In an interview with IGN back when we still knew this game as Breath of the Wild 2, Bill Trinen explained Nintendo's reluctance to reveal the game's proper subtitle. He claimed that, quote, "those subtitles, they start to give little bits of hints of maybe what's going to happen," unquote. But when they finally revealed the name, Tears of the Kingdom, it didn't sound like the massive spoiler we expected it to be. However, if Zelda dies right at the beginning, then the name makes complete sense. The tears of a kingdom which has lost its beloved monarch. The only one left in the royal bloodline, no less. It is also possible that Tears of the Kingdom will refer to objects Link has to collect or some other meaning related to the game's story, but with Zelda meeting a terrible fate right at the start, it could also refer to Hyrule's grief in her absence. Tears of the Kingdom might begin with Zelda's death, or an event will be led to believe is her death, but I don't think this will be her only role in the game. I do not believe this is where the story of Breath of the Wild Zelda ends.
Zelda falling at the beginning of the game parallels the start of Skyward Sword, where a tornado sent by Girahim knocks her out of the sky and sends her hurtling towards the surface. The fall doesn't kill her, however. She lands in Faron Woods, near the sealed temple, where she meets with the old Impa, and begins her own journey parallel to Link's. She travels to the Skyview Spring, then attempts to sneak into the Earth Temple, where she's caught and chained up in the dungeon. She's rescued by the young Impa, who guides her to the Earth Spring, to the Temple of Time, and eventually to the distant past. Zelda's quest sees her unlock the memories of her past life as the goddess Hoshyla. She realizes that her entire life is part of her own grand plan, and eventually seals herself in the past to maintain her seal on demise.
In some ways, Breath of the Wild Zelda mirrors the journey of Zelda from Skyward Sword. She travels to the very same sacred springs to try and connect with the goddess. She knows that sacred power has been passed down through the royal bloodline, but she doesn't quite know how sacred. She is the descendant from Zelda from Skyward Sword, the mortal reincarnation of Hoshyla. And by the end of Breath of the Wild, this Zelda seems to have unlocked her sacred powers, symbolically reconnecting with her divine ancestor.
I've mentioned before in other videos that I think that this Ouroboros symbol behind the game's logo, two dragons becoming one loop, could represent a cyclical nature to the relationship between Hoshyla and Zelda, where just like how Hoshyla reincarnated as Zelda, Zelda could in turn reincarnate as Hoshyla. We can't be sure of this, of course, but it is a possibility, evidenced by things such as the carving of a mysterious, godlike being and a figure who resembles Zelda forming a circle with their hands. It makes the most sense for Zelda to be one half of a whole with Hoshyla. It's worth noting that both figures on this carving have long hair, while Zelda has cut hers short. But we also see this. The same woman seemingly suspended in the air over tendrils of malice. Perhaps this is a depiction of Zelda's fall, or her death. Again, this figure has long hair, which is different to Zelda, but it could be a legend or prophecy, or depictions of an event that happened long ago with a previous incarnation of Zelda destined to happen again. But either way, assuming this figure is meant to be Zelda, this carving strongly hints at a deeper purpose for the princess in this game. If she does die here, then it's likely that she'll be resurrected or continue her journey as a spirit, not unlike Spirit Tracks. Hoshyla essentially died to reincarnate as Zelda, so perhaps Zelda needs to die to once again become Hoshyla. And in the latest trailer, we saw this.
A pale, feminine figure wearing a dress. While her face is obscured, her body type is very similar to that of Zelda. She's covered in jewelry, bracelets around her arms and wrists, and a long design down her torso reminiscent of the pattern seen on the ancient Zonai and Sky Island stonework. There's even two teardrop-shaped stones which match those seen on the carvings. One notable feature about this figure is that she appears to have short hair. We don't see the same long flowing hair behind her that is depicted on both the woman and the goddess in these carvings. But of course, short hair would make sense if this figure is Breath of the Wild Zelda, who appears to have cut her hair short. The next shot where we see Link reaching up to hold hands with this woman parallels this shot from Skyward Sword, where Zelda, speaking as the goddess Hoshyla, blesses the Master Sword, turning it into the true Master Sword.
The white and green of her dress and the designs of her jewellery match fairly closely with Link's new Sky outfit, which again seems closely linked to these mysterious Sky Islands. If this is Zelda, then it's the first time we see her after she falls into the pit. Perhaps, if Zelda does die from this fall, then this figure is her spirit or soul, explaining why her skin is so pale. Or, if Tears of the Kingdom does see Zelda reconnect with the goddess Hoshyla in some way, then this figure could be Zelda, but as Hoshyla. Just like in Skyward Sword, this could be Zelda with her divine memories awakened. An interesting detail to note is that, in what we're assuming is one of the game's opening moments, Link's champion's tunic is badly burned. The entire right sleeve and half of the torso is missing. This tunic was specially made for Link by Zelda when he became a champion. It's not exactly replaceable. Yet, in later footage, we can see Link once again wearing the champion's tunic, with its right sleeve repaired. I suppose this could be explained in just about any way, but it'd make the most thematic sense for this tunic to be repaired or replaced by the one who made it, Princess Zelda. After Link's arm and the champion's tunic are burned, we know that his right arm absorbs this strange green energy and is covered by a brace like the one worn by the hand holding down Ganondorf. And in this shot, we see it happen. Link's arm appears to absorb the green energy. This shot probably takes place very close to the beginning of the game, because we see Link shirtless, in plain shorts, just like how he started in Breath of the Wild. This shot could take place in Tears of the Kingdom's equivalent of the Shrine of Resurrection, where Link's arm is healed and he awakens after the resurrection of Ganondorf and Zelda's fall into darkness. With his champion's tunic burned, then, it could be that Link's new, ancient-looking clothes are either given to him or found on the Sky Islands, some of which I think are very likely to serve as the game's tutorial area. But we know he gets it back after this, perhaps after reuniting with Zelda.
So, if Zelda returns at some point after her fall, what would it mean for her story? Well, it could be the case that the story of Tears of the Kingdom Zelda will once again mirror that of Skyward Sword, and she'll explore her divine origins. Interestingly, in the Zelda Encyclopedia, it is noted that during the development of Skyward Sword, the team considered turning Zelda's adventure on the surface into a fully playable second quest, one where the player could control Zelda's half of the narrative. So, with the possibility in mind that Zelda may once again fall into darkness and embark on her own journey of enlightenment and awakening, could she be a playable character?
The idea of Zelda being a playable character in Tears of the Kingdom has been discussed ever since the very first teaser trailer. In an interview back in 2019, Zelda producer Eiji Aonuma refused to answer whether or not this was the case. Now, though, the fire has been rekindled, after Zelda Socials shared this illustration of the princess. She's obviously depicted just as she is in the caves early on, with short hair, a cloak, and a torch in one hand. But she's also holding a Sheikah slate, something that the tweets call attention to specifically. It's not the same Sheikah slate Link used in the original game. It looks thinner and smaller, almost as if it's meant to resemble a Switch rather than a Wii U gamepad. There's something interesting on the back. It's a Sheikah eye, but it looks like a camera lens, similar to the Lens of Truth from previous games, which allowed the user to see things which are normally hidden. This device can't be seen in any of the trailers. It's not on her hip or in her hands, meaning that if she does have it, it's either stored in their pack animal or in this pouch. If Zelda falls into darkness right at the beginning of the game, and her story plays out off-screen while Link explores the skies, why give her a new Sheikah slate?
Recently, multiple different people have claimed to have been sent a survey by Nintendo, a survey regarding Tears of the Kingdom. In it, they were asked to cast votes on a number of different questions regarding the game's marketing so far, and in particular, one question stands out. Quote, "Do you want to experience an epic story of good versus evil? In The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, you'll embark on a grand adventure that pits Link and Zelda against a dangerous force. Your loyalty to each other will prevail in a story that occurs after the events of the previous game. You will encounter many thrills and fears on your quest to save the land of Hyrule." Unquote. Now, while it does seem that this survey is legitimate and was sent out to different people worldwide, we can't completely rely on it as a concrete source of information. It could also be a well-coordinated hoax. But still, if it is true, then it's incredibly interesting that it mentions pitting Link and Zelda against a dangerous force, and that your loyalty to each other will prevail.
To me, this means that Zelda herself will have a fundamental part to play in the fight against Ganondorf. Coupled with the new Sheikah slate in her hands, might this be hinting at the possibility of a playable Zelda? The new trailer gave us 3 gameplay shots that seem to take place underground. Link fighting a luminous stone talus, Link running away from a Hinox through a tunnel, and this. A nightmarish forest of mushrooms and strange trees, where pools of malice stain the ground and ghostly particles hang in the air. This shot is so different to the other underground clips. It looks almost like a dark world, but it is underground. There are stalactites visible in the distance, and the sound of a bokoblin mining echoes like it's in a giant cavern. The monsters themselves are different down here too. They're cloaked in malice, and little flames, like the flames of spirits in Breath of the Wild and Twilight Princess, flicker in a small group nearby. Could this be where Zelda falls to? Could this hellish place be Hyrule's underworld, a realm of monsters, of spirits, and of the dead? Could Zelda's quest in Tears of the Kingdom, a quest which could focus on her reconnecting with her divinity, begin with her trapped in this twisted netherworld after her death?
For a closer analysis and some good old theorizing about what could await us deep below Hyrule, check out the counterpart to this video over on my channel, Monster Maze, because it might be something far more sinister than just your typical caves and grottos. A big thanks to my friend Zeltic for working together with me on these projects, and I hope to see you on the other side.
Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, leave a like or subscribe if you haven't already for more Zelda content. What do you think about Zelda's role in Tears of the Kingdom? Do you think she'll die at the start of the game? A huge thank you as always to channel members, including Myth tier members Lily, ZeldaButaGrl, Pappy Chris, Rysskylt, Vampyfoot, Thomas Drury-Wang, Celestial Kitsune, MonkeyGamerZOfficial and Gerudo Eli. Cheers guys, and I'll see you next time.